So we're gonna move to Abomination now. We're gonna start the other box, the Wrecking Crew. That will be, might be like 4 different episodes for each of the guys, we'll see. But now we're gonna focus on this box with Wrecking Crew, with Abomination, and I'll show you how to paint him really quick. At least I hope so. I'm gonna experiment a little bit on him. So we're gonna start with darker green, and we're gonna apply it with big brush over the entire back, you know, this rocky pieces. That's where, you know, all his dark grooves are gonna go. So this will be the darker green that you're gonna apply to the back of the miniature. Use the big brush, so you can do, you know, quick 2 layers. Just make sure you wanna water it down so it's not gonna, you know, leave the brush marks. And you want it something like this over the entire back section. So you can see Kabbalite green is applied for the entire miniature. Now we're gonna move to the other color, and then we're gonna, like, using the dry brush, try to merge 2 colors together. So we're gonna move to the lighter green right now. So we're gonna take lighter green and we're gonna apply it to this entire chest piece. We're gonna apply it over the legs. For that you're gonna probably need bigger brush. But then when you're going through the chest, you're gonna go around like a transition piece where you can still see those scales. So something like this, and that's gonna be our like layer. Then we're gonna apply dry brushing to it, so it's gonna try to help to merge it. So this is gonna be our like transition points for the miniature. So you just have to be careful around this. And bottom legs, you're gonna just apply to the entire thing. And remember, the hands need to be applied with this green. And then the piece like in between through the middle of the hands, somewhere right there. And I'll show you this completed in a few seconds. So you can see lighter green applied over those, you know, softer areas and the legs. That's like from the box art. And now we're gonna apply the green shade over entire thing. And then we're gonna start dry brushing. So we're gonna take Bieltan green. And we're gonna generously apply over entire miniature. That's gonna help to meld the colors in between. So we're gonna apply it to entire miniature, put generously over it, you know, don't overflow it, don't get too dark, but, you know, let it get everywhere as needed. And it's gonna take a while to dry, so I'll show you once everything is completed on the miniature. Something like this. So you can see fully shaded Abomination. With, you know, the darker buff. We're gonna do the swimsuit later, but it looks already good. I kinda dig the colors. I was kinda experimenting with it, and we're gonna we're gonna highlight it right now using dry brush and then a few different techniques. So I'll show you that in a quick second. So we're gonna dry brush. We're gonna start with darker green. So, you know, spread it out so it doesn't, you know, do a lot of color, but, you know, really work it out into the brush. You want it everywhere. You just don't want, you know, to leave the wet splashes. That's like calling it. Probably people who, yeah, something like this. You can always test on your hand, right? You can see how it gives a little bit of tint. And now we're gonna go over darker parts. So we're gonna go over this entire back section of the miniature. The shade is pretty almost non-existent because there's very little difference between the colors. It's gonna just smooth it out a little bit. Like you can see tiny different section, different color right there. So you have to work it into the entire thing. But another place where you're gonna be really applying it, right, is around here. Because it's gonna give a light transition. If you're gonna go into that green, that's perfectly fine. That's what we want to do, because later we're gonna use the lighter one to, you know, smoothen this out. So you want to spread it over that groove that's happening, that transition in color that's happening right there. And that's, see how it's slowly gonna go between 2 different colors. That's what we want to achieve with this. So the darker part is completed. You can see on the back it starts, you know, showing a little bit more detail. The biggest part is, you know, the transition around this part. You can start seeing it smoothing out. Same thing around here, it's much smoother than it was. It's still not perfect because now we're gonna apply a lighter one over this, over the chest and a little bit over face. So it's gonna give a little bit more blending in between. You could do wet blending in between, but I'm going quick and simpler so anybody can do it. You could wet blend between those two areas. It's just longer process and I'm trying to do, you know, quicker miniature, nicer looking so everybody can do it. So now we're gonna take the lighter green and we really want to work it into the brush, but at the same time, you know, dry it out so there is no streaks being left. Just check it on your hand because we're gonna start with very specific part. Like this. So we'll go and we're gonna go first with the back to get extra, you know, highlight on these colors. So now you can notice like this really starts popping up all these scales. It's very light, we're not gonna go crazy in here, so just go a little bit delicately over this, and that's gonna give you that nicer scale. So you can already start noticing like they start popping up, you know, standing out every one of those scales. So that's one thing, and you have to go through entire miniature. Like you can see already on the arm itself how it starts, you know, standing out lighter. Now around the transition, now you're gonna start working this a little bit more, especially with the hands, right? This is where we want that light color to come back again. So it can come back and become a highlight over the same thing. Same thing with the chest. We really want to work it into the chest and a little bit on the face area to get back that lighter color and get back. So you can see how the chest is becoming much lighter right now. And we'll work it through the entire miniature. And then we're gonna also apply it over the legs, right? We want to apply it through this entire legs. This is gonna be heavy on this. So it's gonna give you that smoother transition. You can already see how it's smoothed out in here on the arm itself, how it's smoothed right here. So you can see Abomination. You can see how it transitioned between the colors from front to back, how he looks like scaly and it looks smooth. What we can do is also highlight individual muscles with lighter green. I don't think I'm gonna do on this miniature. I kinda dig how he looks right now. I'm gonna do the pants first and see how he looks with that, and then decide if we're gonna do more highlights. But I think this is what you really want to get, and then you can do, you know, individual highlights, you can do individual scales, things like that, but it's gonna make it pop very strongly. Doable if you like it. I kinda like this more. It reminds me of the Abomination from old Hulk cartoon. And if we do it without flash being that strong, you can see more shades of green. Yeah, so you can see this is Abomination right now. And we're gonna move to the pants. So we're gonna continue finishing the base colors on Abomination. So we're just gonna go over the pants and we're gonna apply the contour blue over there. So once you have all that, that will be almost completed. We're just gonna be left with T. So the only thing you have left to do is apply blue over the, you know, bathing suit, like I call it. And once it's everywhere, well, I'll show you the result. Okay, so blue on Abomination is completed. You can see pretty much entire section is done. We're gonna quickly do his belt, and then we're gonna do his teeth. So now we're gonna start doing the final base colors. On the miniature itself, we just have to do this buckle to make it silver. Like this. It's one small detail. Very quick and easy to paint. You're probably gonna need 2 coats to smoothen this out. So you can see the buckle right there. And then we're gonna apply silver to the lamp posts, street signs on the entire miniature, and then the metal beam. And once that's applied, we'll just have teeth to do and a base, which I'll, like always, not show, but main miniature, it's already almost completed. So you can see lead bircher applied. So we are done with that part. The only thing we have left is do the teeth. So I'll show you that in a second. We're gonna do very last touch on the miniature, which is almost with our very last base color. It's just the teeth over there. So you're gonna apply the color quickly to them. Just be careful not to go over the gums. Something like this. And then you're gonna do the bottom part, which gonna look, it's very simple. Do not take too much paint. Just be careful not to go over the green parts that you want to keep. Don't have to be perfect because the shade is gonna cover some of these grooves. And you can see the teeth right now in the mouth. So you have the full blown Abomination. So to finish teeth, we just have to apply Agrax Earthshade over it. So we're gonna go into the mouth and apply the shade like this, and this for the bottom section of the teeth. And that's the teeth section. Now the only thing is left is the base, which like typically I'm not gonna show you, but I'll do Mechanical Standards Grey, apply Argas Earthshade, including the silver post and the beam. That's gonna make it one smoother tone, and that's Abomination. I'll show you complete miniature like always, and we'll see you in a sec. So this is complete Abomination. It is amazing miniature. It looks cool with all this, you know, transitions and colors. I kinda like him simpler. I think it looks more like scale, and I'll see you in the next miniature. I don't know if I'm gonna do a video for Wrecking Crew. I think it's 4 separate miniatures. I might just paint it, I don't know. We'll see if I come back with Wrecking Crew, but I'll see with whatever next miniature is gonna be.